And uncertainties are when we have issues like when the economy is not stable, when there is panic buying, when there's panic among the consumer. And we're currently facing one due to the pandemic that we're currently going through. You can see a lot of brands are carrying out different activities to still remain in the mind of the customer, because the customer needs to feel the brand. So we decided to bring someone that has full knowledge of how it should be done and how brands can actually do it to gain empathy in the minds of the customer. So on this note, I would like to welcome Mr. Godfrey Adejumoh. You're welcome, sir, to the session.
Hi, Tope. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for making time for joining this session. Thanks, Tope.
Yes, sir.
So, should I go on?
Yes, sir. We can proceed, sir.
Okay. All right. I think there are people in the waiting room. If you can just get them in so that everybody is on board. But I will just proceed. The topic before us, good afternoon, everyone. Again, thanks for making time to be part of this. I had shared with Tope, I like full disclosure and a bit of disclaimer. I am not a COVID expert because in my view, it looks like it's too sudden to have COVID expert maybe in my space. The reason being that we are all going through it. It's not something that has happened before. It's not malaria that you say I've had malaria before, and when I had it, this is what I did. This one is new, and we can see the impact on everyone. So whatever I share here are just my little thoughts on what I think our industry has to play as a role in times of uncertainty for brands. And if we move to the next slide, this is how the conversation will go, as you can see on the screen. I'll just give us 30 seconds to look at it. We meet each other, which is already what we're doing. We take a look at operating environment. We take a look at what happens when there is crisis. On that basis, we enter what is our role in crisis for brand. I forgot to also make another disclaimer that please bear in mind that we're working from home. So basic reality of how we have seen it. If you hear background noise, please just bear with me. There are human beings in the house, and movement, all of that might likely happen as we go on. So taking us to next slide, this is who I am. Tope mentioned where I am now. I've been at the other side. I started from different places, and this is my educational background. Moving on to next slide. Why did I bring this here? No industry, not even human beings, irrespective of the space you play and what you do, is immune to the operating environment, either locally or globally. But I've just decided to focus on our own operating environment here. You know, there was a time they had said 90 million or 80 million Nigerians are poor. There was a denial, but in May this year, there was an update from Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, and now puts total number of Nigerians that are poor at 83 million, and by ratio of the total population is 41%. You can see how this pandemic came. As of January 22nd, it looks like nothing was happening. But by the 9th of May, we have had all sorts of issues. Lockdown in March, the whole of April, I think globally was on lockdown and all of that. You can see the issues of insecurity still persist. In the Northeast, it's heightened, and other parts of the country, you have kidnapping and all those kind of issues during the lockdown. We had the issue of 1 million boys in Lagos. All of this is taking a toll on the consumer. So now if you were buying a certain kind of product that cost a particular amount, because your income is not increasing, you've got to look for more affordable choices that you make. Nigeria poverty situation keeps worsening. Of course, we operate in a very volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous environment. I'm not an economic expert, but I have this slide to show our macroeconomic indices. If you look at GDP per capita versus government expenditure from 2015 to 2019, you can see that it's going down. If you look at number of Nigerians in poverty from 2010 to 2019, is on the increase. The Monetary Policy Council met day before yesterday to look at inflation rate in Nigeria, and all they were able to achieve was to take off 1%, which is now based at 12.5%, as against the 13.5% lending rate. All of that kind of double digit has impact on our revenue. So whether you earn in millions, you earn in thousands, you earn in few nairas, the inflation situation of the country has a toll on your earnings. Of course, GDP versus population, we are increasing in population, but our GDP is not growing. Again, I just needed to put that out so that you understand that the industry we operate, we are not isolated from the reality of our operating environment. Now, in crisis, there is a Mentimeter survey we did in May 15, and we just asked a simple question via Mentimeter to ask, how are you feeling? And you can see the words that popped up: panic, fear, exhausted, anxious, tired, all of that. A few people said they are good, they are fine, they are doing well, but you can see that on a general note, this is taking a toll on people mentally, physically. Of course, globally, the automobile industry, the aviation industry, the hospitality industry, there's everything not right at this point in time. Consumer, fast-moving consumer goods company, the same thing is happening. Only those who seems to be making some form of dignified living are those in essential services. If you're into food, production, hygiene products, so you expect that the breweries, you can imagine what is happening to their revenue. There are no weddings, there are no this, there are no that. All of that is taking a toll on us, and it is just a reflection of how brands are feeling. If you hear that there's job loss, there's this, it is not the companies that woke up to say we want to let people go. It is a reality that revenues are shrinking. We need to optimize what exists so that we can survive going into the future. On the next slide, in summary, I brought out these key words: panic, fear. One thing I wanted to also add is misinformation. For instance, when COVID came, all sorts. Everybody became a subject matter expert. And that is why I started by doing an open disclaimer. I am not a COVID subject matter expert. We're all going through it. We're learning, and we're trying as much as possible to survive the curve. People are concerned. People don't know who to trust. You don't know whether you should trust government. Government says it's okay to open the economy, we're in control, but you go out and you look at it that you are scared. Social distancing is zero. Face masks has become chin masks. Nobody is able to breathe properly. So in times of uncertainty, you cannot say you are isolated. We're all affected, and these are the things that happen in summary. So without dissipating too much time on that, let's just look at what then is our role. as communications practitioner. Communication practitioner is broad. You can be a media relation expert. You can be a government relation expert. You can be an internal communication expert. You can be a community relation expert. You can be a lobbyist. So let's look at public relations from the holistic bucket of what it offers. And let's not limit it to what we are doing presently. What I do presently is not all that there is to public relations. What you might be doing is also not all that there is to public relations. So it is all of us put together, bit by bit, that will say this is the total bucket that makes up what we call public relations. So the question is why we are here in terms of uncertainty, what is our role? And here I will say this is what I thought about. And I made a little time to read, to cross-check my thoughts. The first thing was to look at myself, look at my company, look at my experience and say, okay, from my little experience, when we say the role of PR in times of pandemic, what is it? So I came up with something and I went to read online to check if I'm 100% wrong so that I will learn what it is that is the role. Because for a session like this, you want to go home with something that is tangible and you can apply in your practice. So here we go to say our role in pandemic is to help brands find their purpose. That is the summary. Now, every other thing I'm going to be saying is going to be an attempt to extrapolate what do we mean when we say the role of public relations in a pandemic for brands is to help brands find their purpose. Now, you will agree with me that before now, a lot of brands were doing things that I call fluffy initiatives. Just want to be part of the band of the bandwagon. Wannabes. This one has launched this. Oh yeah, Aaron, you too go and launch something similar. Just tweak this thing, change the color, change the name, get NAFDAC approval, and before you know it, you too you're in that space. And when brands communicate, I don't know about you, but I see a lot of noise from brands. Just something that shows you too, you just want to be out there. African Day was May 25th. Guess what? Proud to this time, that African Day, all the entertainers in the whole of Nigeria, those of them who are the big boys, the big girls, they will all be on a flight going to one particular destination for a concert. And of course, when they get there, you will now see brands latching on it. It's African Day, let's sponsor, let's do this, let's that. Everybody just keep jumping on things. But guess what? African Day has come and gone. There were concerts here and there. People didn't have to travel. So does it mean that in the first instance, we don't have to travel, we don't have to waste money, we don't have to roll out money that we don't have because we're traveling somewhere? Now, in crisis, we need to help brands find their purpose. So if a client calls you for a brief now, I want to do this, I want to do that. They might be sending you that brief out of panic. Be honest enough to ask that brand, like, what is your purpose? It's a difficult question because even for human beings, at some point you need to ask yourself, what is my purpose? Because if you do not define, if you do not understand, if you do not know your purpose, everything you are doing, it might just be rigmarolling. And before now, I make bold to say anyway that there are lots of brands that are very fluffy. They are very, their initiatives are not grounded. It is just a case of, hey, this is doing that, me too, I want to do that. Let it be said that me too, I'm making noise. Even in the time of the COVID donation, there are some companies that made donations that you look at it like, are you healthy enough to cover this amount of money? But because everybody was donating, everybody wanted to be in the good books of the government, because government is a critical stakeholder, everybody was just donating. donate this. Announcement, I've donated XYZ amount. I've built an isolation center. I've done this. Please help brands to understand their purpose. When you have done that, help them communicate that purpose. You will see much later why purpose is key in driving conversation in times of crisis. If I'm to ask a rhetoric question, do you realize that in times of crisis, especially in this COVID-19 crisis, we now realize that the most important thing of all the things we run about day and night for, troubling ourselves, losing sleep, not living a healthy life, not eating well and all of that, if there's anything that was important, life became very important. Do you realize that there are executives that for the entire year, their ticket is booked, flights, they don't have time for their families, they don't have time for this, they don't have time for that. Guess what? This is 2 months down the line. Nobody has traveled a certain distance by air and all of that. Has your world perished? So it's time for us to ask the question as a brand, what is my purpose? And be able to help the brand to communicate that purpose. When you communicate from a point of purpose, you create connections with your consumers, because your consumers will see that with your purpose, you're out to serve, to add value, not to just make noise and be everywhere in the news, in the papers, and on radio, on this. Let me give you an example. It might be the in thing that time. There was a time that the telcos, what was the rave of the moment was signing brand ambassadors. This one, in fact, they were poaching musicians from each other. This one is here today. In 3 months' time, you see he has moved to another network as a brand ambassador. Do you know that, to my knowledge, at some point, some of those ambassadors were collecting sign-off fee of over 300 million, 100 million, 20 million. And guess what? If you invite them for one event, that amount you pay them does not cover for that event. For that event, they will still collect money. There is a rate card. You will fly them, you will accommodate them, but just ask yourself, put all that money behind investing in your infrastructure. Today, we're working from home. I don't know about you. We use Wi-Fi.com. We use Glo. We use Airtel. We use MTN, all as data that, as far as I'm talking to you now, it's a mystery that the line has not cut off. So when I mean purpose is people should sit to take a step back and ask, why did I start this operation? Why did I come into this business? And help them to communicate from that perspective. Don't be under pressure like my brand, this competition is doing that, that competition is doing that. Look at all those, that sector, the telco sector, all the noise, all the push, hush. Today, the industry is about 17 years old. We still do not have quality service. You make transfer in your bank app and all of that. There are all sorts of issues with it. If we had perhaps used that time, energy, resources to invest behind the infrastructure of that sector, maybe will not be. I don't know about you, if you are privileged. I joined some webinars that are global. I have never seen people from the developed world getting cut off on their network. Why a lot of us don't do video, for them by default, they put on their video. If I were not a presenter of this session, trust me, I will not put on my video because it's data consuming and it makes the data to struggle. So helping brands to find their purpose in times of crisis is our job. The advertisers will not do it. Remember that the purpose of the definition of public relations by the British Institute of Public Relations was to say that we bring credibility as an industry to brand. So let me go ahead. If you've gotten what I say, I say, see, discover brand's purpose and build the right narrative to create connection for consumers and customers. No more frivolous initiative to join the bandwagon. If you've discovered that purpose as your role, you now things will be done from a point of purpose to show brands are and can be solution to consumers' needs in order to survive in a pandemic and in times of uncertainty. Brands with purpose will create the right connection, as I've earlier on said, to support target audience. By implication, if consumers watch, by the time they see that you are connecting to them from a point of view of value, from the services you provide, guess what? You don't need to do all the advertising in the world. They will look for you. Where can I get this to buy? Where can I get these services to where can I access this service? And all of that. So it's a whole lot. And this is my thinking. I read an article in a Forbes magazine, and a writer shared this thought that in pandemic, we help brands to create the right narrative. Creating the right narrative is helping the brands to find their purpose. It is not a time to put on the commercial cap of making money. It is a time to do all of this. Create credibility as a brand, trust, mutual benefit between the brand and the target audience, and of course, build empathy. Let there be understanding. And like what we saw in times of uncertainty, there's a lot of misinformation from the brand. There should be accurate information. So it is not something that comes at a snap. It's something that is deliberate, and it has to be built upon over time. If it is something that you just want to make money and go, then you are not the person for us to discover your purpose, because we are not here for the long term. And if I move on to the next slide, this is my closing slide to say why purpose. And I took it from the brand here to say brands with purpose grow. Take a look at it from your time. Doesn't matter your journey, long, short term, or medium, so far in the industry. How many brands did you remember 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, across sectors that started whatever that they said they were out to do? How many of them are alive today? If they are alive, how many of them are getting better? How many of them are growing? How many of them are adding value based on what they said they want to do? And guess what? Companies with purpose last, and people with purpose, they thrive. So our business and our role in a pandemic as practitioners of communication is to help brands to find their purpose and help them build the right narrative. Initiatives that are coming must be based on value add to target audience. Nothing should be fluffy going forward. If you do what other people are doing and it's not built on your purpose, the truth is, it's a matter of time. It will fizzle out. Brands that last, that grow and thrive are brands with purpose. So here is my submission, and here is where I say thank you for listening, while I also want to learn from you to ask, what do you think should be our role in times of pandemic? Thank you very much. Over to you, Tope.
All right, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for the time. Now, we would like to take questions and comments and discussion from the participants. You can drop your question in the chat section so that we can take them and answer them within this time. Thank you.
Okay, I think I would like to run on some of the questions that we already had during the registration. So, and I would like to also ask in terms of, because during your presentation, sir, you were speaking of purpose, help your brand discover its purpose, help your brand discover its purpose. But even when you discover the brand's purpose, in what ways can you communicate this purpose to the customer? What are the steps you can take as small businesses, as big businesses? Okay, I think your audio is muted, sir. Okay.
Yeah, so you say when we discover our purpose. So brands have plans, they invest behind them so that, brands are like living organisms. The more they interact with target audience, the more they create top of mind, the more they create relevance and all of that. Now, let's take a few instances. I'm not sure during the COVID, it was the right time for the automobile industry to be advertising. I'm not sure. I'm not sure it was also the right time for the breweries to be advertising, come and buy this, come and buy that. But look at it, some of the breweries, they're smart and concerned enough to say, we can do something to support people, because part of their raw materials is alcohol, ethanol, and all of that. And so what did they do? The same space where they would have been brewing their beer and all of that, they simply turned the same space to producing hand sanitizers, because that same raw material that they use for beer production can be used for hand sanitizer. And the conversation of safety guidelines, hand sanitizer is a key element of staying safe. Where you can't find soap, where you can't find water to wash your hand, just use your hand sanitizer, pending when you get to where there is water and there is soap. So for a company like that, it's a simple case of they have found their purpose in crisis. So it is not the time, like this question is asking, that when you focus on purpose, how do you become sustainable business? Don't forget, like I said, in this crisis, we now realize that if there was one thing that mattered, it was life and survival. So it is not the right time for you to come and push one concert to say people should gather here. We are going to storm this university because they're a youth brand. Don't forget that those ones, they shut down as well. So if you take down the commercial cap, it is that you are building the narrative to connect to your consumer, because at that point in time, do you think that your consumers, what they want to hear is one fluffy thing of how your brand is great, how your brand is this? What they want to hear, which is why I showed you that Mentimeter, is people were concerned. If I'm sick, how do I get to the hospital? If I have a child who is this, how do I get to? So imagine you reaching out through your customer base to say, I can offer this support at this time. The truth is, such a brand will not be forgotten post the pandemic or post the crisis, because what people will remember the most is in crisis, who supported you, who gave you the platform for you to live and stay safe in this crisis that we have. Let me digress a bit. You know that in this crisis, it's not the best of time to change jobs. If you have a job where your salary is still being paid and all of that, because you want to stay on what you know works first. Because that place you are going to, you do not know what their strategy is. And if you jump the ship, you might just jump into calamity. So the question of how do you help them find their purpose is, I gave the stand of the breweries. How do you communicate it? So for that crisis, the breweries started communicating. We are doing this. The donations you saw that were happening from different companies, either directly to communities or through NGOs, those donations were not for nothing. They are part of PR strategy to engage consumers. So you will see that breweries do not make food. People needed food. So they will go and buy from another company that makes food, but they will let you know that it is courtesy of this brand. That is finding purpose and communicating purpose in crisis. Then one of, if you find a purpose, how do you remain sustainable? It is that when you drop your commercial cap in crisis and you connect to the consumers through their need, whatever service you provide, either as at that crisis or post the crisis, you will be the go-to person for consumers to reach. I don't know if my responses made any sense.
Yes, they were able to say that. It's not, I think for what you said, at this point, it's not when brands should think of selling. They should think of solving some of the problems that customers are facing without thinking of necessarily making money at this point, because consumers are even going through a very difficult time. So it's best to just try to create them. That's why we have this issue of palliatives to help the customers, the consumers. But sir, when we look at small businesses, I would like to bring it to that level, because when we say PR, most small business owners think PR is only needed for big businesses. So for small businesses that even the founders of the business are still struggling to keep the business afloat, what would you advise them to do in terms like this, in terms of also showing empathy to the customer?
Okay, what business do you advise they should empathize with customer? I'll put it like this. It might not be so much of a perfect answer, but in my head is, if I'm running a small business and at the point of the crisis, of course, operations are challenged. You remember that even before the crisis, I'm still struggling to break even as a small business. One of the things I found out work best in this crisis is partnership and synergy. So it was not a time for you to claim you know it all. It was not a time for you to stand and be independent minded because you are all sufficient to yourself. There is a presentation I made somewhere and I use a figure. If you watch a movie called Game of Thrones, the guy called Jon Snow, remember when the hashtag was trending online, winter is coming. The summary of that winter is coming was that there was a battle between the army of the dead, that is in the movie, people who have died, but they have an army, and the living. In that movie, the living were struggling for what they call the Iron Throne. So each kingdom, about more than 10 kingdoms, everybody wanted to be one to inherit the Iron Throne. So they were fighting amongst themselves. But guess what? When this winter was coming, the war between the living and the dead, Jon Snow did something. Don't forget that the living are fighting among themselves on who will inherit the throne. And so they are all sworn enemies to each other. But guess what? Jon Snow went to the camp of the enemies to say, you know what? Let's put aside our animosity. Let's partner each other so that we can go as one army to face the army of the dead. Because if I alone and my army as Jon Snow should face the army of the dead, in 1 minute they will perish, all of us. Because what happened in that movie with the army of the dead is that if they kill someone from the army of the living, that person transformed to become a member of the army of the dead. So continuously, the army of the dead was increasing while the army of the living was depleting. But in that winter is coming towards the war, Jon Snow moved around, galvanized the entire 10 kingdoms plus to become one army to face the army of the dead. And that was the only reason why they won that battle. Let's bring it home. Small businesses, big businesses. It is time to partner. So you look for someone that may not even be in your space. It could be that the person's operation is large. They are donating XYZ. You go to them and say, oh, I render these services, but for now, my operations are not going because my activities are shut down. But I can use my platform as a channel to help you reach more people. Guess what? That is value you are bringing on board. You might not earn for it. Remember that in crisis, you are not supposed to be profiteering. You're supposed to put on the thinking cap of being a solution to your immediate environment, your consumers, and your stakeholders. By the time you're able to now communicate that this is what we are doing at the moment, guess what? That is a conversation that can work for you after the pandemic. But during the pandemic, if you feel, oh, nobody is coming to me, I'm not going to anybody, you stay on your own, the question will arise in terms of when they're asking who are the resilient businesses that we have, small, medium, or large scale. Those who brought forth their services in any way that they did to add value to solve the crisis of humanity are the ones that will stand the test of time. I don't know if I answered that question. So in summary, you might not be, by virtue of your operations, take for instance, you're a makeup artist. That's a very typical example of a small business. The question is, in COVID, was anybody thinking of makeup? Nobody was. But how about at that point in time, you begin to think of, okay, now that you are home, remember people were working from home. People were attending meetings, both local meetings and global meetings. How about you now do something like, okay, I can teach you how to do simple makeup within your house, send you the video, pay me 5,000, pay me 10,000, so that you learn it yourself and look presentable for your meeting. Is that not a service you're adding in crisis? To me, I think that is so. It's about thinking solution. And when you think solution and you arrive at one, somehow you will end by the solution that you provide. Even if at the initial stage, you make it for free, for a trial. By the time people try and say, oh, this is good, guess what? There will be a retrial. Delivery services, they were operational because they were designated among the essential service providers. You get it? So one of the things I also like to add is that in crisis, look at the positives. That's why you saw that slide of people were confused, panic, fear, misinformation, all of that. It will just confuse and derail the thought process. But when you step aside and think through it, like, okay, what can I do to add value to this situation? Somehow, either by partnership or by direct involvement, something will come up. It doesn't have to be big. What matters is in crisis, keep going. Don't be stagnated. Keep going.
Yes, sir. Okay, sir. One other question we got during the registration, the question was, is there a relationship in data analysis and public relations? Like, how can you use data to carry out public relations? Is there a correlation?
There is very strong, and this is what I mean. You know, there's what you call profiling of your target audience. When I said people were very fluffy in their communications before now, even the initiatives, I meant there was a lot of wastage of resources, of manpower, and all of that. But now we're now in the age of a lot of accountability and prudence, and also a lot of either no budget or very low budget. Remember that in crisis, companies easily cut budget for communication, which includes PR, advertising, and all of that. In that situation, the only way you can know who to reach, when, how, and where, it is through data analysis. So take, for instance, you realize that during the pandemic, people were mostly online. I'm not sure you needed any soothsayer to tell you that. Question, was that the right time to place a client in the front page of a newspaper and go and put it as part of your achievement to say, we helped our client to achieve business day front page. We place our client XYZ. But at that time, if you put your client in a blog that is specific to a particular subject, I'm sure the catchment of visibility for your brand will be higher than when you go and place it in a traditional media. Again, another example is data analysis. Do you remember that during the crisis, if you're going to appear on air, TV, and all of that, you can't appear there discussing what was not relevant to the survival of humanity. That's part of data analysis, because you look at it that what is the trend, what is going on, and all of that. So, of course, there were a lot of insecurity issues. Is that a time for you to communicate things that will heighten fear? That's why I say that our role is to bring credibility in times like this, empathy, all of those things that we saw in that slide. So communicating using data helps you to know what is the right channel to use, helps you to know how should you place your information there. So even when you have the right channel, the how is important. So you can't come and be self-aggrandizing. You have to bring in that aspect of empathy. You have to bring in that aspect of what value are you bringing? How does this thing you are proposing make humanity better? Even if it's not your direct services, but you are contributing to humanity, so that after we all survive, we can all now come and say, okay, where are those people that did us well by supporting us?
Okay, sir. So I think from what you said now, I think even before the era of the pandemic, a lot of businesses have been using data, but unknowingly, because the spend power for some businesses has been very little. So they've had to actually spend the little resources they have to channel it to the exact target audience and to the exact platforms where their audiences are. And that's even with the age of digital media, where you can create targeted adverts, where you don't just need to throw out traditional media, where I call it like a net, where you throw out a net and whoever listens, and you catch them in. But with digital media, you can actually target your customer. So I think a lot of businesses have actually even been doing carrying out things like that. So one question also, sir, and I'm sure that everybody on this platform is familiar with this. Is it in the midst of the pandemic? What most of this let me use our banks, what they try to do? They started to send emails to customers, trying to inform them about the pandemic. But is it a right way to go? Knowing fully well that the information about the pandemic was almost everywhere, and also knowing fully well that we say customers don't like to feel like they are being bugged. And there was a period in time, every morning when I wake up, I see emails from all the banks that I have accounts with. And it was a consistent pattern every day till I went on a social media platform one day and I saw a lot of people complaining about it, that it looks like it's just spam message. And at a point in time, I stopped even opening the emails. So, and in a conversation I had with some people, they were saying it's a way of them trying to educate us, which is also an aspect of PR, trying to communicate with us. But did they get it wrong in that way? Is there a limit to what you should do when you're trying to engage with your public through public relations?
Yeah. So, like they say, too much of everything is not good. So overdose is harmful. Let me use myself as an instance. That's why I started by saying that I'm not a subject matter expert for COVID. Instead, we're all learning on the go as the day passes by. So for us as an organization, we had to reach out to employees. Remember, we're all used to gather in the morning in one place, work till 5. Some people work late, some people come very early. But there is, in simple summary, there was always a gathering and there was always a departure, day in, day out, 5 times a week. But all of this happened and there was no gathering. But guess what? We still needed to stay connected. So there was a temptation to send information every day. So once you get, you know the numbers were spiking every day and they are still spiking. Now we started from 10, 20, 100, 800, 1,000. Now we're I think 9,000 plus. So there was a temptation to wake up every day and what you needed to do was to update employees of, as at today, this is where we are, keep safe. But we didn't do that. Instead, we said, let's have a weekly update so that Monday to Friday, we gather all that has happened, good and bad. And by Friday, we send it out across all the channels, whether intranet, whether mobile phones, and all of that. And for us, we thought that that was a better way to manage people because too much of information, like I said, will become harmful. So for the banks, the we might not blame them because there were some kind of things that we didn't know from behind. So the government wanted to use every available avenue to reach people, masses, and they knew that the banked and the unbanked needed to be reached. So they use every channel to say, engage your customers and create awareness. So it might not have been the bank's voluntary wishes to say, let's do this, but the government was kind of, let's make this everywhere and anywhere and through any channel that we have. Perhaps maybe what one or two banks would have done is a strategy that we apply to say maybe twice or maximum 3 times a week is fine. But remember that on the flip side, perhaps if everybody and anybody wasn't doing what they did in terms of information sharing, it's possible that the level of awareness that we have about COVID-19 today will not have been there. Remember the time of HIV awareness campaign, everywhere you turn, every platform you flip to. I'm sure if it was today in the days of social media, we will say the conversation around HIV is too much. But today, there is a control over the crisis of HIV. And that is why they've now decided to step it down to say, now that it's in control, now that there's a vaccine that doesn't cure but can prolong life and keep people healthy, let's step it down while we now focus on other things. Remember that for COVID, there's no vaccine yet. The threat to humanity is still out there. So perhaps let's not give a negative tick to the banks for the everyday thing. What we should advise is that create discipline and a mechanism around your news information consumption. For instance, I don't listen to news every day. I do 3 times a week so that I don't get into the panic mood and become depressed.
Thank you, sir.
Hello.
Okay, sir.
Hello. Please, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Okay, my question is this. I want to talk from the angle of sales. I'm a salesman. And
Okay.
what purpose is a brand, gaining by giving millions to the so-called celebrities, you know? And what's the correlation will that give to my sales?
Okay, so what I can say, and I say this from a bit of experience and very limited experience because I'm not a sales person. I'm not deep dive into marketing.
I'm
Is
a
that
field, I'm a core field sales person.
yeah? So what I see there is that when we say brands should discover their purpose, if part of your purpose is to use celebrities to create top of mind awareness for your brand, we might not question it. What we will now probably do is to say, can you use that celebrity to create a strategy of consumer engagement? So it is not that signing of the celebrity to become your ambassador that will induce sales, but the activities you create around using that celebrity. So take, for instance, you have a Don Jazzy as your ambassador. And let's say you also sell, you're into telecoms where you sell recharge card and all of that. An activation that has to do with, okay, Don Jazzy wants to speak on creating a career for yourself in entertainment, either as music producer, as a musician itself, and all of that. And you gather a forum. That was in the then world of when people were doing physical gathering. And so you now put salespeople like you around it to say, in a campus, for instance, and you have profiled, you will have 500 people in attendance. What I imagine is, so the one we call on-ground activation, where you say there will be a winner for XYZ. If you enter the hall, there will be a raffle draw. But for you to participate in the raffle draw, you need to buy a recharge card of 100 naira. You make it affordable at their level and all of that. If it is for the very big people, the A people in the world, you just say you have the tickets to fly to XYZ London, business class, first class, but you tie it to they participate in something. So let's go back to the one of the campus student. Volume is key. So you will realize that if on the one hand, the marketing people have spent 20 million to bring that event on board, you might not recoup that 20 million in that activation, but at least the 20 million will not just go down the drain without some income that your activation has generated. That is the kind of experience I had when I was in the telco. Those ambassadors were not ambassadors for the sake of just being ambassadors. They were actually being used as sales channels to penetrate some terrains. And sometimes they even use local champions. So you will see that Anosofia is an ambassador when it comes to the eastern part of the world, Ozoku and all of that. So they localize it. So my response is the benefits of sales, of brand endorsement by ambassadors is not in the endorsement itself. It is the activities you now create around that ambassador to drive consumer engagement. And at the point of driving consumer engagement, you should create sales opportunities that people, they will be buying and selling, because that is where you will meet your target. And that is what keeps you going in terms of a top performer that you are in your organization. I don't know if that works. You might not be in the telecom sector, but whatever sector you are, I'm sure if you're in the cooking industry, you can create a chef competition. You get it. You can create a cooking competition. So there are so many, the ideas are not cast in stone, but just understand that brand endorsement by celebrities will not lead to sales until you create activities around it that can induce sales, and they must be value adding. Tope is on mute. If we have
Thank
any
you
other
very much.
question, can
Okay.
take. Yeah, Tope is back now.
Yes.
Thank you very much
So,
for the session, sir. Thank you for the response to the answers as well. We will take any other question now before we finally round up. If there's any other question, so we can take that and then round up. Also, we are going to send a link to the recorded session to your email so you can access and go over the session again for those that joined late and basically get a catch of everything again. Okay, in the absence of any other question, I'll hand over to Tope so he can take us through the final proceedings.
okay, yeah, thank you very much, Dayo. So I think it has been a very insightful session, and the key takeaway for me in this session has been that as public relations or communications people, we should always identify the purpose of the business that we are working with. And getting sales for a business is one thing, and also knowing the purpose of the business. And when we say the purpose, what we're trying to say is that the solution that the business is solving, the value it is adding to the customer. So once we're able to identify that the people that we are communicating with are human beings that have feelings, that have emotions, we should be able to use our communication skills to actually touch those soft spots in them so that we can win them and they can be brand ambassadors for us, and we can also achieve top of the mind. So, and say we're doing public relations, say we're doing marketing, which is one key thing, which is why I like the last question, is that sales will not go fully well if there's no marketing, and marketing will not be successful if sales strategies are not implemented around it. Because these are discussions that a lot of people always have, and from what I always hear, there's always some disagreement between the sales and the marketing team in some organizations, where the sales people say that they are the ones selling, but the marketing people are also saying that the ones making you people sell. So there's always that discussion. So I believe that what matters the most is the synergy of both marketing and sales. So as agency people too, when we're developing activities, PR activities, marketing activities, communications activities for businesses, we should also have the sales ideology in our mind so that these businesses can also sell. So those have been the takeaways for me. And I don't know if you have any last words for us, sir.
Yeah, my last word would be that please, with our skills, with our practice,
Is it too late to
let's,
ask a question?
okay.
Okay, you can ask.
Okay, I'm in education sector. Okay, so I just it has not been long. I just joined the group. I just joined the podcast. But being in education, what kind of PR, what kind of marketing strategies should I be looking at? Should I be engaging? What should I be doing? I just want, it just came to my head. I should ask that question now. What should I be looking at? What kind of PR activity or marketing strategy? I know there's a lot of teaching going online, which my school is already doing. But what else can I be doing? What else can I be doing, in terms of in preparation for school opening? What marketing strategies should I be engaged in now?
Okay. So one of the things we probably did not pay attention to in this lockdown and a bit of the ease that we're having is that there's a lot of radical shift, and this shift has happened in less than 100+ days. So it's not something that has taken forever to happen. It's just less than 100+ days. Everything that we are used to from birth, either you are 5 years, 10 years, 20, 40 plus, and all of that, has suddenly changed. So for instance, children, what is the routine? Wake up and go. Parents, what is the routine? Children are out of the house, you are alone, you have your time. In the evening, we converse again. For those who don't even have this kind of a setting, whether you are single, remember that there was a going out, there was a coming in. And do you realize that? But for this lockdown, A lot of people did not know that stress, physical stress, or whether you're in traffic, whether the office is tense and all of that, we didn't know that all of that is part of your total well-being. We took it for granted. We're all lamenting traffic is too much. This is too much. We never appreciated the fact that there was a bit of psychological comfort that all of that was giving us. Now we've been at home. Guess what has happened? People are tired of each other. Spouses tired of each other. Children tired of parents. Parents tired of children. Do you get it? So what I think that the educational system should do, and I don't know if they are doing, because I've interacted with a few people, I'm not sure I've seen anybody doing that, is that what are the mental health tips you can give to parents to survive this period for their children? Remember that children are hyperactive and it is just very natural. Attention span is very low. And you quarantine a child this minute, in that quarantine that you quarantine a child, he or she has discovered something that will upset you again as you shout. So you can be sending out tips of successful parenting in a lockdown. They might not be things that you have all the answers, but they are things that you can begin to push out. So what we get as parents now is a Zoom notification to say your class is for 11, 9, and 1 o'clock, as we have it morning, midday, and afternoon session. Nobody has sent us any tips to say, I have been your child's school teacher for 1 year. I noticed this about this child, and this is how I handle it. Because you might think that parents know it all, just the same way parents think that teachers know it all. So it's a time to co-create. I know there are WhatsApp groups between schools and parents. So drop those tips there. And the PR that you'll be doing is not just in you dropping it haphazardly. It is that if you can make that extra sacrifice, get someone to design it as infographics, an e-flyer that you send to that WhatsApp group or whatever communication by email that are reaching out to parents. Even if they already know, the fact that it is coming from you will position you top of their head that this school, they care. How many times have you even made time in about 10 weeks now to say, let's call the parents of these teachers, or let's set aside a day to say we're calling our children today to hear from them. Or you would just set up a Zoom class and say, all 10 of you, just be gisting. These are things that psychologically help. Because in my own organization, there's what we call Thank You Thursday. There's what we call, because while I'm working in the office and I can work successfully forever, there are those that must be in the factory to produce. There are those that must be on the field to sell. So irrespective of the PPE you have given them, the truth is it is not comfortable going out when they are telling you out there is not safe. So what did we do? We dedicated time to pull out their numbers, pull out wherever they are, and gave it to the management team in tiers, directors, senior managers to say, today, you have 10 people to call. We gave them a guide to say, call them, check on them. How is your family? Care about them. And guess what? It got to a point that those working from home started feeling neglected, that all attention is paid to those who are out there on the field. Again, we have to balance it so that there's that feel-good factor from everybody. So for an educational system, trust me, there's a whole lot to do, because lockdown has shown us that the so-called family time that we're all craving for can become an overdose that we're tired of.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. So, sir, you were giving us your last words, sir. I think.
Okay,
can I add something to what you said, sir?
Yes, sir. Please.
Okay, sir. So, I believe also because of the pandemic and the shift that has happened, businesses have gone back to understand who the buyer of their product is and who the end user is. So, in the case of the school, for instance, the school might have been focusing on getting students, making the students more comfortable, neglecting the fact that the parents are the ones paying the school fees. The students are the end users, but the parents are the buyers, they are the customers, the children are the consumers. So this is the time where we now need to look at it, because purchasing power of the customers is very low and they are thinking critically of how to spend their money. So we now need to also focus on them. And as you said, create experiences for them so that will make them feel part of the system. The system, the way we have been making the children enjoy the schooling environment, and they are now advocates of the school, to go and tell your parents, oh, I enjoy my school. Now, I believe schools can also begin to create good experiences for parents by showing them that they care about them, so that parents can see more value and more reason for them to actually still pay the fees. So I believe is also a good way to go.
So
Yes, sir.
my closing remark, as I was saying, was that continuously there will be a lot of misinformation out there, even post the pandemic. But let's use the little positions that we occupy to give assurance to people. Remember that our job has a lot to do with credibility, has a lot to do with trust, empathy, managing people. It might not even be easy on our part, which means even we ourselves, let's look after ourselves so that we can also encourage people. So if someone comes to you with panic and fear, respond with the opposite of words of encouragement. Let's tell the part of, we don't know it all. We're in this together, but we will survive, because there have been pandemics before this. We're just whether fortunate or unfortunate that this happened in our own time again, in our own time rather. Might not have happened in some other people's time, it happened in our time. But those that were alive when there was a pandemic, they survived, and they were thinking future. They were not just thinking of now. So for yourself, for your brand, think both now and think both the future. Because at the end, I think that there is life after now. There is something beautiful that will happen to all of us. Businesses will bloom again. So what we make of this time is what will determine whether we will reap the benefit of the sacrifices we have made in this time. So in closing, I say, let's not join to spread fear, but let's join to spread empathy, encouraging words, and even your clients, tell them that we will go through the personal clients that I manage. I've had to reach out to them like, how are you doing? And guess what? One of them told me that a COVID positive patient was in their office. So if I didn't reach out, I might never have known that he or she was in that mental state of being disturbed. Like, I just got information that a positive person was in my office, and probably I must have had indirect contact with the person. So check on your clients. Don't leave them alone. Jobs might not be coming, or rethink of what other value can you add at times like this. Don't forget that in the end, we're all human beings and we're all not strong enough to go through this. But if we pull our strengths together like Jon Snow did to face the army of the dead, we will be on the winning side.
Okay, sir. Yeah, thank you very, very much, sir. It has been a wonderful session, and it has been really impactful learning from you, learning from your knowledge also. So on behalf of myself and everybody that is on this session, I'd like to say a big thank you once again, and we hope that if we reach out to you some other time, you would honor our request, sir. So yes, sir. So everybody that is joining us for the first time, we usually join the customer perception series, a series that we designed to restate the importance of serving the customer, regardless of the business that you are, regardless of the industry. You are in business for the customer. The market is made up of customers. So the idea of the series is to continue to help marketing professionals and business owners on different ways in which they can continue to service their customers well. And then we have your emails now. So we hope that when we send you a link also for another session in future, you will join this session. So on this note, I would like to say thank you all for joining, and you can drop your emails on the session so that you would get the video of the slides. I would like to get your slides also, so we can send it to the participants if you don't mind. Okay, then we will also send the link of the session. So thank you very much, and thank you everyone. Stay safe, obey the rules and regulations, and have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank
Yes,
you,
sir.
everyone.
Bye-bye. Yes, sir. Bye-bye, sir.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining. Thank you. We'll send the link to the recorded session to your mails. Please drop your email in the comments section. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.